We don't want fancy bits and pieces or names or compliments, etc. No, your basic Torrija.
Silly Conversations, the podcast. Your host, Denzel Mills.
Podcasting people, podcasting friends. It's Easter. Easter, the only holiday which kind of moves around, jumps around whenever it feels like. Now, technically speaking, that is not how it works, but it always feels that way. And one of the things about the Easter holidays, when we were at school, or even now as adults working, it was a time when everybody travels in the whole world in such a very short period of time, like one weekend or 1 week, and the whole world's traveling. The great thing about Easter now is that the city, Valencia, where I live, in most parts, it's good weather and generally, especially in my area, much more relaxed. There's less people around, the bars are open, there's good weather. You can sit on a terrace having that pina colada or jimping. Now, Leticia would know what she's talking about or what I'm talking about, because apparently it's a thing, unless I've made a mistake with the name. But anyway, she'd know. And also this kind of time always reminds me about food. So now living here for many, many years, Torrijas, like the original Torrijas. And I suppose everybody knows what Torrijas is, so I'm not going to explain. You know, Torrijas were in fashion when I first came, or it was normal. I wouldn't say it was in fashion. Then it kind of disappeared. I learned how to make torrijas, by the way. Then it disappeared. Then it came back. And there were people doing all sorts of fancy Michelin star practices, basically debasing the foundations of torrijas. Torrijas are just pure sugar, pure cholesterol, and just nice. We don't want fancy bits and pieces or names or compliments, etc. No, your basic Torrija. Now, again, traditionally, people here in Spain will talk about the Mono de Pascua. It's not really something I think is very interesting. I mean, it's just bread with an egg in it. You know, it's not fantastic. And then, what's the other thing? I can't remember now. I should really research sometimes before I start speaking. But in the UK, we used to have, at Easter times, this was great, hot cross buns. Okay, so hot cross buns would be the equivalent to Monas de Pascua. And hot cross buns were basically that bread dough with raisins, pasas, with raisins in. And they were kind of like the staple thing that we used to have over the Easter holidays. I used to love them in my house, and we used to have them with cheese. A bit strange. So you have that sort of sharpness of the cheese and the sweetness of the bread. It's like fantastic. And Easter always used to be quite cool when my parents were around at my parents' house, because it was the time when people would know that me or my sisters will come and see our parents. I used to live in various cities in the UK, and my sisters as well. So you could guarantee at Easter time we'll all be in the same place, which meant the cousins would come round. Everybody uninvited, by the way. You know, people just turn up. Well, not turn up, but they'd phone you. Yeah, they'd phone you on the landline, which is basically the phone at home. Because remember, people, I'm talking about the days when there were no mobile phones. So everybody used to phone to your parents' house on that home phone number. We call it the landline or the fixed number. So then people would phone and say, oh, are you going to be at home? And they'll turn up. And my mom, she was always a person who liked to cook. So she would cook in advance, knowing that Obviously, me, my sisters, my nieces and nephews would be there. And then some of the cousins will come round as well. But some of my cousins, my aunts and uncles, were also people who like to cook. So then they'll come round with the food that they've cooked. So most Easters, especially when it was good weather, we had our house in the UK, we had a garden. So we had a little bit of a concrete area and then some grass area and a garden. So generally we'd have maybe a barbecue or the food that was cooked by my mom or my aunts and uncles. And so it would transition from inside the house to outside the house in the garden. And we'd make some salad, we'd have some food there, kind of typical Jamaican type food, chicken, fish, things like this, with vegetables, of course, and then sweet things like the hot cross buns, which is more of a British thing rather than a Jamaican thing. Hot cross buns, bun and cheese. Now, bun and cheese. This was something special. This bun is like the greatest thing ever, or one of the greatest things, not to be confused with hot cross buns. Okay, one's very different from the other. And we'll just sit in the garden. And then my parents always liked music. So rather than having rubbish on the TV or the radio stations, no. We'd set up some music, set up my hi-fi. I had a hi-fi. And we'll set it up outside with some music. And I'm telling you, the party would be all day and then just goes into the evening. And then sometimes my dad's friends would come a little bit later. They'll bring some drinks. And then some other friends, maybe people who knew I was there or friends from when we had at school would all come round. So what started off as a very little low-key, immediate family get-together became an extended family get-together, and then like a big-ass get-together. That was so cool. And now, with my parents not being around, sometimes I kind of reflect on those Easter holidays, especially when we were younger, because that was very cool. And as we got older and had our own friends and family and things like that, how we all met together just for a very short, intensive time. But it was kind of one of the times where you had the most memories. And it was a very good time. So that was a little bit of how I used to spend Easter. And probably how I'm spending Easter now is not interesting at all. Before this, I was just doing some work in my house, like general housework. I've got a little coffee here to kind of keep me going. And I thought I'll just give this little taster. Well, it's not even a taster really, because it's finished. I thought I'd just give you a little overview of my Easter holidays when I was younger and when I became an adult. I'm an adult. Amazing. Some people would question that. Another thing, which I should really do before I say goodbye. Another thing is, hopefully you have enjoyed your Easter period, whether you're religious or not. Hopefully you've enjoyed the Easter period. If you've traveled, hopefully you traveled somewhere interesting. Well, my little podcasting friends, this was just your presenter giving you a little insight into Easter's past. And, well, the present is not so interesting, but Easter's past. Hopefully, when you listen to this, you are rested, you've enjoyed the time with people, and you've eaten a lot. This is Silly Conversations. See ya.
The voices and the names have been changed in this podcast to protect the wicked. For any grammar, information, or correction, please ask someone else, not me.